Hey YouTube, thanks for stopping by. I'd like to talk with you today about the new God of War game, God of War Ragnarök, and character design. I am going to be approaching this video with the assumption that you've at least played the previous God of War that was released on PlayStation 4. So if you haven't played that, there are going to be some spoilers. When this trailer was released, Santa Monica Studios released a couple of promotional images of characters that are going to be in this game. Several of the pictures are characters that were from the previous game, but years have passed and they have changed in appearance. There are some new characters that have been introduced, and one of these characters got some people very upset. Thor. They made Thor fat. At least that's what everybody's saying. They made Thor fat. They, of course, being Santa Monica Studios. But why do you think they made him fat? How do you know what Thor looks like? I think a lot of people have an idea from what they're used to. And I think most people are used to Thor and they think of the Marvel franchise. Thor, of course, in that is portrayed by Chris Hemsworth. Taller guy, blonde hair, blonde beard, and he's in good shape. He's got physical muscles. He's a bodybuilder. But Thor doesn't look like that. There aren't very many good descriptions in the Norse stories. A lot of the times they weren't a very descriptive people, at least when it came to appearances, in a lot of the Eddas and just a lot of the texts that we have. A lot of their stories only describe action and feats that these gods were capable of, these gods and goddesses. Thor is described in the Eddas as having red hair, a red beard, and piercing eyes. And that's pretty much the only physical descriptions we get from him. As far as Norse artwork, not a lot has survived. There are some old buildings in the region, like within Scandinavia, that have just survived the test of time just due to construction. But as far as artwork itself, we don't have a lot of that. Most of the relics that have been gathered are little trinkets, just things that were assumedly on bodies of the Vikings that were going to conquer and pillage and take stuff back to the homeland. But as far as actual artwork, there's not much that the Norse did. One of the only depictions of Thor done by the actual Norsemen is stone carvings, and that Thor does not look pretty. Hopefully at this time you're seeing an image on your screen of that stone, and Thor's not, he looks like this. That's what they're working with. Now, Thor in Norse mythology, as I said before, their only description is red hair, red beard, and a piercing stare, and fierce eyes. Thor was known for, we'll call it the 3 F's. The first one is feeding. Thor had a really big appetite. One of the stories about Thor is one where his hammer, Mjolnir, was stolen. And to get his hammer back, they had a plan to disguise Thor as the goddess Freya. Now, Freya in the God of War story is not the Freya from the Norse stories. This Freya was set to be married, well, not set to be married, she was almost being forced to be married to a king from another land who had stole Mjolnir. He basically wanted to trade Mjolnir for her hand in marriage. They disguised Thor as Freya. They put a dress on him, they put a disguise on him. Thor objected to it, but everybody else wanted him to do it because Thor was known as a fierce warrior, and if anything bad would happen, he would be there. Thor, while he was at this wedding in disguise, ate an entire ox, ate salmon, and then chugged 3 casks of mead. Now, between Chris Hemsworth as Thor and Santa Monica Thor, which one of those two do you think could chug 3 kegs of beer without stopping? The second F for Thor is going to be fighting. That's all Thor was known for. The gods praised him for his ability in battle and his ferocity. He wasn't a thinker. The Norse will always say that Odin and Loki were smart, they were tricksters, that's how they got things done. Goddesses like Freya and Frigga, beautiful, they used their wiles, they used sexuality to get their way. Thor did not do any of that. All Thor knew was fighting. He was a combative person, and he was strong, and he was renowned for it. The final F for Thor is fornication, because, like most Norse gods, couldn't keep it in his pants. Thor, in mythology, was married to the goddess Sif. They had children, but he had two bastard children, Magni and Modi, who you may know from the first God of War game on PS4. Now, with all of this in mind, they portraying Thor as this big, fat man. He looks slovenly, but think about what he's been going through. In the first game, he loses both of his sons. He's aware of what Fimbulwinter is. He knows that this is the end of the world. He's depressed. And speaking of a depressed Thor, what happened to Marvel Thor during Endgame? He was fat, and everybody made fun of him for it. I don't think there's any issue with this Thor design. I think the main problem with it is just people have expectations from what they're used to. Any of the new art of Thor that's not done by the Norsemen, that are done by people who heard the stories, they paint Thor as muscled, blonde. But why do they paint him that way? Look at who commissioned the paintings. That might be a good idea. A lot of the times when you had these deities being painted, commissioned, they're commissioned by royal families. And these painters, because they want to get paid and they want to get new work, they would model these paintings to look like the people who commissioned it. You ever wondered why so many paintings of Jesus have him white when he was born in the Middle East? Look who commissioned it. So at the end of the day, I don't think this Thor model looks bad. I actually think he looks really good. And especially when you think about the power behind that size. Who do you think can lift more? Someone like Chris Hemsworth or a power lifter like Eddie Hall? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm really looking forward to playing the game. And if you are too, hopefully we have a good time with it.